Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Arlington Board of Selectmen Chambers. It is our May 15th meeting and a little past 7:15 p.m., and I will call this meeting to order. To get started, we have Mr. Chunglo, our Director of Veteran Services in the Arlington Veterans Council, for a Purple Heart designation and dedication. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having me tonight. Before we move into the Purple Heart, I'd just like to pass along a few administrative notes regarding Memorial Day. We successfully had a great turnout this past Saturday at Mount Pleasant Cemetery. For the first time, we've been able to have people come in and assist in planting, doing the Flags on Graves program, marking all of our veteran graves. So it was great, and we completed half the cemetery in 3 hours, which is amazing. So thanks for everyone that turned out. We do have an upcoming repeat session this Saturday from 9 to 12 at Mount Pleasant. So it's open to the public. Anybody can come and attend. So that's a note. Another thing that I wanted to present to everyone here is it's a Reserve the Seat campaign. So Jeff Melton, who's a member of the Veterans Council, will pass out this little flyer for you. And I'll explain a little bit. It is on my page for the town. And this is designed to share with a local business, local restaurant, your favorite tavern, to honor our veterans for Memorial Day. Reserve a seat that they can place that on the bar or at a table and reserve a seat for the day for the veteran. There is a little link that people can scan on the bottom, and that goes to my page here on the town website. Provides a bunch of information on the program itself and how people can enroll. If other businesses are interested, we'll relay that out to the other businesses. So that's a great thing. So a little grassroots campaign starting in Arlington. So, and now on to the Purple Heart. So just to give everyone a little background information regarding the Purple Heart itself. So during the American Revolution, then General George Washington in 1782 prescribed the Military Order for Merit. And it was an award, military combat award, that he designed and implemented for the Revolutionary War. It's interesting to note that only 3 recipients received that award during the Revolutionary War. After the war kind of fell to the wayside, and in 1932 it was reinstituted in honor of General George Washington's 200th birthday. So we reinstituted it. The design, it is purple, it is a heart-shaped, and it does have General Washington's picture on the medal itself. So it's given for combat-related injuries. So we are pleased to have a combat veteran with us, Mr. Katsos, who is a Purple Heart recipient. So this is near and dear to our heart. So tonight we'll be reading the proclamation declaring Arlington a Purple Heart community and designating Massachusetts Avenue a Purple Heart Avenue. So to go with that designation for Mass Ave, we have these signs that we'll be posting along Mass Ave. So I guess we'll turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chunglo, and thank you very much, Mr. Katsos, for being here. It's an honor to have you here in the chamber.
And can I interrupt?
Yeah, please.
One moment. So in addition to Mr. Katsos being here, we have Mary DeLille here, and Joe and Joan Connors, who are also Gold Star parents. So that's very nice.
Thank you, and before we take comments from the board, I will read the proclamation that we have prepared. So, whereas the town of Arlington and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has always supported its military veteran population, and whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration in present use and was initially created as the badge of military merit by General George Washington in 1782. And whereas the Purple Heart was the first American Service Award or decoration made available to the common soldier and is specifically awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces who have been wounded or who gave their full measure by engaging in combat with a declared enemy of the United States of America. And whereas the residents of the town of Arlington, originally named Menotomy, have played a role in securing our liberties and freedoms since the Revolutionary War, many of whom are highly decorated veterans, including Purple Heart recipients. And whereas Arlington appreciates the sacrifices of our Purple Heart recipients made in defending our freedoms and believe it is important that we acknowledge them for their courage and sacrifices and show them the honor and support they have earned. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Arlington, Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim the Town of Arlington as a Purple Heart community and designate Massachusetts Avenue as its honorary Purple Heart Avenue. We encourage all residents to show their appreciation for the sacrifices that our Purple Heart recipients have made in defending our freedoms, to acknowledge their courage, and to show them the honor and support they have earned. Thank you. Jeff, we are very honored to have you and the Veterans Council here today. It's a very important committee that does a lot of great work in town to really bring this to the forefront, and I'm deeply appreciative of the work you've done. Colleagues?
I'm thrilled that I could be here, and we thank all our veterans, and it's, you know, I don't know how many of you realize this, my father won the Second World War single-handedly. He told us that often. But no, it's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Thank you.
First to Mr. Katzos, who's here as a recipient. I would salute you, but I haven't served in the military, so it wouldn't be appropriate, but I certainly extend my heartfelt thanks and gratitude on behalf of the board. I'm not sure what war or conflict Mr. Katzos served in.
World War II.
World War II. God bless you, sir.
Normandy invasion.
Normandy, the greatest generation. And I really appreciate you coming here tonight. And to Joe and Joan Connors, who we've seen so many times as Gold Star parents, who have represented the town of Arlington well, but also have represented both your sons and your family in terms of the trials and tribulations that you've had to go through. And I want to say to the Connors family and the Katzos family, we thank not only the individual soldier that worked for all of us and our freedoms, but also the families, because there's a big sacrifice there. And I think a really good testament is what's happening here tonight, that the Katzos, Connors, and other families are keeping things sort of in the forefront to let everybody know, not for any sort of thanks or platitudes or anything like that, but really instill upon all the citizens of the town, especially the young kids when we're up at the fire station and we have, you know, the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts up there, that they really can see some faces and names to soldiers who have served, soldiers who have unfortunately perished or suffered injuries, as well as soldiers who are right now in harm's way. And I really think, comparing to my generation, I think the youth here in Arlington are much more cognizant, aware, because we're doing a better job, but we can always do a little bit more. So I thank those two families. I thank you, Jeff, Mr. Chungloas, another veteran, and all the veterans out there, because I really think it's the stalwart, the rock of Gibraltar that this is all built on, and it's what makes the society what we have right now. So thank you to everyone for coming tonight.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dunn.
I won't repeat everything my colleagues say, but I should certainly share their appreciation for our veterans and also the volunteers and employees of the town who serve the veterans and the town today. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Great job. motion to approve?
Yeah, if I could, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to declare Arlington as a Purple Heart community.
Do I hear-
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? It's a 4-0 vote. Thank you. I am going to take one appointment out of order because Ms. Pescatori has to go to another meeting. So an appointment to the Board of Youth Services, Laurie Pescator?
Really, I have to follow that.
I know, it is a tough act to follow.
Oh, I-
Thank you very much for being here
thanks for having
today.
me.
And if you could just talk a little bit about your interest in the Board of Youth Services?
Sure. I actually didn't really know too much about it. In the past year, I've had friends who are on the board, and I've gone to some of the galas that they've had, and I've learned through going to the galas and talking to my friends more about the board, and that really interests me. Anything pretty much with kids in the community interests me. So I just want to do what I could and help out with fundraising any way they see fit for me to do.
Great, thank you very much.
Move approval?
A motion
Second.
to approve and a second. Further discussion? Yes, Ms. Mahan.
I just want to thank you for serving in this really vital role in the community. When I first came to Arlington, I'm old now, I'm 54, but when I was younger and your age, the way I got involved was through PTO and Last Blast and some of those other things, and I see that's something that you're really involved with and entrenched in. And I think that really gives you, that you have your fingertips sort of on learning how to connect with the young men and women
Yes.
that attend. And I'm just wondering in terms of if there's anything serving in this role or the first thing you'd like to do or something that you think would bring to that, because I certainly know being involved with PTO, Last Blast and others, but like what's one of the things you want to hit the ground running with?
I just really want to get the word out there a little more. I think for myself, I really didn't know about it till at least maybe 2 years ago. Like I said, through friends who are on the board. So I really think through social media, I think Facebook is a great outlet, just kind of putting articles about that represent the AYCC. So just kind of getting the word out a little more. And I think there are so many different I think they get kind of confused with other services that are in Arlington. So hopefully that would be something I would definitely be interested in.
And that's a great asset, because I was talking to someone today, talking about a totally different thing, debt exclusion. 20 years ago, it was snail mail and,
Right.
phone calls, and everything's social media now, even scheduling a meeting. So I'm really excited to hear that that's one of your assets that you'll be able to bring to the,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Further discussion? Mr.
So
Greeley?
Lori, what I wanted to say, so there's 4 of us up here.
Sorry.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion by Ms. Mahan, a second by Mr. Greeley. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? While we're at it, we might as well get the other appointment out of the way before we move to the consent agenda. We have an appointment to the Arlington Bicycle Advisory Committee, to its executive board. Elizabeth Shea? Please. Hey, how are you? Thank you for being here tonight.
I was going to introduce her just because
Please
it's
do.
the first time up for here, and I thought she might want to relax her a
Excuse
little
me.
bit more. So we're very thrilled that Elizabeth has been elected by us and nominated to you to join our board. She's been coming for a year, quite a number of meetings, and she's actually going to be working on the Mill Street intersection committee. So we'd like to. That's Mill Street. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Lake Street.
Lake Street.
Get my streets straight.
Yeah.
So we're very excited about that. So without further ado, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Oh, please, can you talk a little bit about your interest in joining the bicycle committee?
Yeah, I've been a resident of Arlington for 8 years and an enthusiastic cyclist, and that was part of the draw for Arlington for me, was the bike path and the ability to commute to work. And so I'm interested in making bicycling safe and making sure that there are safe ways to ride our bikes through town, and also that there's appropriate education and communication about bicycling. And a harmonious relationship between bicycling and others in the town.
Yes, that's something we all strive for. So
Yes.
I appreciate your commitment to that.
I'm very excited about the Lake Street project. It's a lot of work. I mean, that's a really hard problem, and I'm really glad that we're working on solving it. And I really appreciate your efforts in fixing that. 'Cause, that's definitely when you talk about the harmonious relationship, that's definitely one of the places where friction happens.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
I just came from a meeting, and it's a gnarly little intersection
It sure
there.
is. Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you. With a motion.
Oh, I move it to approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a second. Further comments?
Thank you very much for your willingness. You know, I was talking to someone today from Austin, Texas, and I was explaining about how we strive to have trimodal methods of transportation, if I'm saying that right, but that we couldn't get funding, for example, for the East project, if it wasn't trimodal, bicyclists, pedestrians, and cars. He was stunned. He was shocked. You know, he said, cars go on the road, Kevin, or horses, but not bikes, you know. So, thank you so much. They do such wonderful work. Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Actually, can I just make one more point? It's an ad, really. Monday night, it's the annual social, which is also the kickoff event for the 25th anniversary committee for celebrating the anniversary of the bikeway opening. The Common Ground at 6:30, Alan McLennan is going to be giving a talk on how the Minuteman was put together, and so I think it'll be very entertaining and a great way to mix and meet with other cyclists or people who are interested in the Minuteman. Thank you.
Would you say the time and date again, minutes?
It's Monday the 22nd, so that's next Monday, and
Okay.
it starts at 6:30. Alan's talking at 7.
Great.
It took him 18 years to get that done. It's going to be a long speech. but-
Well, I hope not that long.
We have a motion by Mr. Dunn, a second by Mr. Greeley. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Going back on the agenda, and before we get to the consent agenda, I
Excuse me.
forgot to note at the beginning of the meeting that our chair, Mr. Curo, is out of town on business. Otherwise, he would be here, so you're stuck with me for the remainder of the meeting. So, the consent agenda, we have the minutes of our May 8th meeting. We have a request for the annual Greek Festival, June 1st, 2017 to June 4th, 2017. We have an approval of the Hackney Taxi Business Operators permit renewals. We have one for Almont Taxi, Arlington Veterans Taxi, Boston Airport Express, Boston Ride, Leo's Taxi Service, and VTS Taxi. For approval, we have a wine and malt license revision for Twirl. We have for approval a Sidewalk Cafe permit renewal for ZA. We have for approval a change of manager all alcohol license for Not Your Average Joe's. For approval, we have the 4th annual Celebrate 5K Fun Run / Walk on June 10th for the Arlington High School girls and boys cross-country teams. We have a request for a change of date for the Arlington High School ice cream fundraiser for the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute from May 20th to May 27th on the Jefferson Cutter House lawn. For approval, we have a Keno to Go monitor for the Broadway Market. We have a request for a special one-day beer and wine license for May 27th at Robbins Memorial Town Hall for a private event. We have a request for a special one-day beer and wine license for May 27th at the Whittemore Robbins House for a private event. We have a special one-day beer and wine license for May 28th at the Robbins Memorial Town Hall. We have a request for a special one-day all-alcohol license for May 28th at the Whittemore Robbins House for a private event. Wow, a lot of action going on in our town properties for the next few weeks. We have a request for a special one-day beer and wine license for June 3rd at the Robbins Memorial Town Hall for a private event. We have a request for a special one-day beer and wine license for June 3rd at the Whittemore Robbins House for a private party. We have a request for a special one-day beer and wine license for June 4th at the Whittemore Robbins House for a private event. And we have a request for a special one-day beer and wine license for July 15th, 2017, at the Robbins Memorial Town Hall for a private event. Now, is anyone here to speak on any of these items? Yes, please. Join us.
Good evening, everyone. Nicholas Kriketos from St. Athanasius Greek Orthodox Church, 4 Appleton Street. I'm open to any questions, but once again, the community of St. Athanasius welcomes all of you to our annual Greek festival, June 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So we have a few items on the agenda, as usual.
Yes.
The closure, partial closure of Acton Street, the designation of a one-way for Appleton Place, and the special one-day alcohol permit license. Beer and wine only,
Four-day,
of course.
one-day special, yes.
4-day, one-day special.
Yes, thank you very much for being here. Questions from the board? Yes, Ms. Mahon.
Just a comment, because I live near there. I live on Howard Street, which
I'm
is off
very,
of Quincy.
very much aware where you are.
And, no,
I've been here how many years now?
oy vey.
I'm a familiar face, you know the drill, I know the drill, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
I do want to say about probably 4 or 5 years ago, there were some residents who lived near St. Athanasius that a very small group going home was very loud and boisterous. And it was brought to the attention of Father Nick and members of St. Athanasius, have not had that problem since. So what I wanted to say is, whatever you're doing with when people depart, it's working, and I hope you continue that, because, we had residents on Pheasant Lane and,
Yes.
Appleton Street Place, and so what I wanted to do is say kudos to you all in terms of, there was something identified 4 or 5 years ago, and it's really probably a small group of 5 or 6 people. But since then, that hasn't been the problem, so I would just make the request, which I'm sure you're doing, whatever you put in place, obviously you're gonna continue that, because it's definitely working. And I wanna say on behalf of the neighborhood, we do appreciate you taking those concerns into consideration and coming up, and I don't know what you did, but keep doing it, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for recognizing that. I can tell you, I'm probably not the most well-liked parishioner at St. Athanasius, and I'm probably not the most well-liked board of director at St. Athanasius, but the fact of the matter is, I'm the safety officer and the food safety officer for the festival. I can't take credit for all of it, but what I can tell you is that, we've addressed these issues. The Board of Health can even speak to that, even though that's not on your agenda. But whatever concerns there were to just, improve overall, we have. And I've taken a very strict approach, and, there are times when, again, I'm not the most friendly, welcoming individual to those that are leaving and departing. We welcome everyone with open arms, but we're very strict. Our bar manager, Mark Ypsilantis, is kudos to him and his team. We're very, very strict. And there are many a times where people are very angry and, they make nasty Facebook posts and posts, and oh, well, I know some of you know about that. But it is what it is. But we do our best to support the community, support our Arlington community as a whole, and respect our neighbors. And we know it's not an easy event, but we do everything in our power to make it as easy as it can be in the neighborhood, so.
So I wanted to say, I want to praise Caesar versus 4 or
Oh,
5
you're the
years
best.
ago.
No, no,
Thank
no.
you very much.
Thank
I
you
remember
very
when
much.
I remember when you brought that to our attention.
Thank
Yes,
you.
absolutely.
Mr. Greeley?
So good luck. How many will you get over the 4 days? What's your,
It's typical, we say on our permit, it's 10,000 from start to finish, but it's all dependent on the rain and the weather, and, we've got the graduation, but somewhere around that number. But the great part is that they flow in and out. We have our upper parking lot, and we also make good use of a lot of parking equipment that I bought over the last few years to cordon off areas to just make it more accessible. We do make all of Appleton Place on that side a handicap parking zone. So those that are disabled, or maybe those that are just, they don't have a handicap placard, but they're older in years, they can't walk that far, we make that very accessible. And you have to make a shout out to the Arlington Police Department too, because they partner with us, me especially, and every year we go through it time and time again like we've never done it before, and I think that is what makes the difference. We just don't rest on our laurels. We say, okay, what can we do? So kudos to all the captains and Corey too, who do help us. So
kudos to you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think I need a bottle of Advil by the time the weekend's over.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion on any of the consent agenda items? Yes, please, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Justin Barras. I'm a high school English teacher, 10th and 12th grade at the high school, and I'm the assistant coach of the boys cross country, boys indoor track and field, and boys outdoor track and field teams. So I just wanted to thank you. I'm talking about the 4th annual Celebrate 5K Fun Run and Walk, which is what we're hoping, it will become a community event over the next couple of years. Every year, 50% of the proceeds are donated directly to Dana-Farber. And in the various and sundry needs, we've been running it for Catherine Malatesta in her memory, and this year we'll continue to do that, and in support of all of the members of the larger Arlington community, especially the AHS community, who are fighting cancer or have lost their battle with cancer. But just wanted to thank you for all of your support and invite everyone out. Last year we started as a 30-person road race, so it was mostly the cross-country team racing themselves around the reservoir. Last year we bumped up with the help of Fit Boys and a bunch of middle school and elementary school programs, and so we cracked 100. And so we're hoping that being on the bike path and running around the reservoir, we can build it into a community event. So just wanted to say thank you.
And where do you
Answer any
sign up for that?
questions. We haven't opened it yet,
Okay.
but there will be a sign up online, or you can contact us at the high school. So our website is celebrate5kfunrun.weebly.com. So not in a profit business, so we're not spending any money. We're trying to give it all to charity.
At what time on June 10th?
9 a.m. is the starting gun.
Thank you.
Mr. Dunn?
Thank you very much for coming in, and it sounds like a great event. I've never participated, I confess. When do you get, when does it finish up? When do people get off the bike path?
Last year, we were cleaned up. Everything was in recycling bins by 10:45.
Okay. I ask simply because I know that that time of year, as the bike path gets, is in really high demand.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I just want to, and you're not the only, there are a bunch of events who come in, and I definitely always am a little bit we have to make sure that we're sharing the path and.
Of course.
Okay. I'm glad we've got that in mind and thinking.
Last year, we had 32 course marshals in bright yellow shirts and vests with signs, and so we had no incidents.
Good.
We know that things can change,
Yep.
but all of the course marshals are either cross-country runners or people familiar with the course, and we try to be as out of the way as single file or even off the bike path for as much of the course as possible.
That sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Ms. Mahan?
I just want to say, class of 80, Arlington High School, winter track, cross-country. Actually, my Coach McIlerney, Coach McDonough were my coaches back then. And back then, when you ran, they would put, not they would, but one of the things you trained with were 2.5-pound weights. But I want to say, I want to thank you for putting this event together, and also to all the young men and women on the track team that have committed to this. And I understand the balance of needing to, who's on the Minuteman Trail, because it's not exclusively a bike path. And sometimes they get a little sensitive that, it's kind of defined as one mode of transportation, but it's not. It's the Arlington part of the Minuteman Trail that has multi-uses. So I really appreciate what you're doing, and I hope it continues to grow in further years, and cognizant of Mr. Dunn's remarks, if that happens, maybe there's a little bit earlier time. But I would never want to see an event that, as successful as you're going to get, that it kind of falls by the wayside, because that is a multi-use mode of transportation on that trail. And I have to, like I say, one of the things I'm continuing to work on with the Arlington High School School Committee, and especially with our town manager, who has a seat at the table, is trying to get some sort of, it used to be a field house, but indoor track, because I remember going around in the basement, and the biggest thing you have to worry about are those lockers that come out as you're running around, or if you hit a pen and pencil. And you're still, I'm class of 80, and here we are in 2017 having to deal with that. And I appreciate your energy and enthusiasm, because I know it's something that's transferred onto your athletes, and I know an awful lot of them down there. So I'll be down there when you guys run off. I won't be running with you. I'm too old, but I do appreciate you doing this, because it's great to see all the sports and drama and music groups that really are not just doing community hours to say, I gotta get my 20 a year, they're going above and beyond, and this is a great example of that, and I do appreciate the time you're putting into it.
Thank you very much. One of the event mottos is run like they did, which we do with the cross-country team, and I won't name names, of course, but one of
Yes.
our runners is in multiple events a top 10 runner as a sophomore in the country. So he's ranked nationally, so it's kind of cool
I
to
just
maybe
read
get
about
the
him this
chance
week. Want to say his
to
name?
maybe run with him.
Yes.
So we're very proud of all of our runners, but it's a chance to potentially run with a nationally ranked runner. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Move approval?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is anyone else here to speak on any items under the consent agenda? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Moving on, licenses and permits. For approval, a food vendor license for Mamadou's Artisan Bakery for 677 Massachusetts Avenue. I've heard from quite a few people who are very happy that this was on the agenda today, so welcome.
Hi, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm not used to speaking in public like this, but my name is Mamadou, and that's my wife, Mimi.
Hey, Mamie.
We've been operating actually a French bakery actually in Winchester since the end of 2007. And we really started selling our breads at the farmers markets, even before we started selling retail on our very own location in Winchester. Arlington has always been a really good market for us. And actually to this day, it's actually our best farmers markets. And what really pushed us into moving into Arlington is the tremendous amount of customers that we get driving to Arlington, to Winchester every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, to buy bread. So we decided that, to make it easier for people, why not find a point of sale or a location, a small location where we can just bring the bread and have it closer to the people. So that's the reason why actually we decided to make this move. What we intend to do is to pretty much make everything actually in Winchester and just bring it to Arlington. So all our bread would be baked fresh daily. All our morning pastries would be baked fresh daily. And all we have to do is bring it to Arlington and have it closer to the people.
Great. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Questions? Ms. Mahan?
Move approval, and I do want to say that different people, when they saw this agenda item on our agenda for here tonight, I heard from quite a few school groups, from Lauren Ledger, from Arlington Eats, who sing your praises, that you have been, even though you're in Winchester, and not officially until we vote this tonight here in Arlington, you've already been in Arlington and been giving back to the community here. And so many people were so excited to hear that you were coming to Arlington, but they also kind of wanted to sing your praises in terms of what you've been doing for Arlington before you even got here.
Thank
So
you very
they're
much.
really excited that, you'll have a home base as well as the one in Winchester. And I just wanted to highlight that before you even got an official residence in Arlington, that both Mamadou and Mame, that you've already been working with the Arlington schools and Arlington Eats, and I've had people call me saying, I hope you're gonna approve this. I said, why wouldn't we? But I just wanted
Thank you
to
very
let you
much.
know you have quite a few thankful friends in the Arlington community, and I'm really excited to know that you're not only in Winchester, but you'll definitely be here in Arlington, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much appreciate it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Greeley?
Would you have a sample of the pastries with you?
We'll bring you a big plate.
Undecided, no. Thank you for choosing Arlington, good luck.
Thank you so much. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing-
Thank you.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck.
Good luck.
Have a good evening.
You did a great job, first time speaking. I thought he was gonna hit that TV, so.
What was Leone?
I don't know.
No idea.
Is anyone here for a citizens' open forum? I am seeing none, so I am going to skip citizens' open forum, and we will address it at our next meeting. Traffic rules and orders, other business. For approval, the placement of a Relay for Life lawn signs, May 17th to June 12th. Kimberly Van Winkle. Hey, good evening.
Hello, how are you all?
Good, thanks.
I am the executive leadership coordinator of this year's 17th annual Relay for Life of here in Arlington, Massachusetts. I am honored to be working with the group of people who live here in town. We're very passionate about this event, as Diane can probably speak to. It's a near and dear cause to my heart. My niece, Courtney Lynn Jones, she passed away this January from a rare form of liver cancer, and she was very involved. She would be 26 this coming June, but she was very involved with Pop Warner cheerleading and the Arlington Children's Theater. She was a role model for a lot of the young citizens here in Arlington. So in her honor and in her memory, I took over the charge of taking over the event. Arlington has been fortunate enough to have such great turnout and participation, not only from the students at Arlington High and Arlington Catholic, but also the community and the businesses, whether it's they have teams themselves or they're donating products or services to help us raise funds for the event. We are forever grateful for the amount of support that we get from the town of Arlington. This year, we would like to have permission to, would like permission to put up lawn signs. You guys have all been provided a copy of the picture, I believe, of the sign. It will be put up by members of Relay's committee team, as well as it could be put up by a team member. On certain towns, I've listed the little areas that we'd like to promote the event, because we think that it's a great community event, and we have some great people, and we have a great DJ, and it's just a really great community event. And I think in years past, I really haven't seen it be like advertised, like Woburn, and I've taken it off of like the other towns that do it, like Woburn and Medford, and we have some great prime space that we can put it out there, and that is why I'm here tonight to ask for that permission.
Move approval.
We have a
Second.
motion to approve and a second discussion. Yes.
I want to thank you for taking this on, in spite of sort of the heavy heart that you and a lot of people in Arlington and beyond have had with Courtney's passing. So I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'm not a weepy person, so I'm not going to do that. But I would encourage people to go on to Relay for Life. I know Amy Leiden has a goal and is running in Courtney's spirit, as other people have. And it really is, it's amazing how, I remember when we were first involved with the Relay for Life, and it wasn't as big as it has grown to today, but the mission and the commitment and the hope was there from the very beginning. I want to say 20-plus years ago with Brenda Burns-Tachi and others, when we did the circle around the track. And I would invite anyone, you'll see, these lawn signs, there's like 12 or 19 different locations that will advertise it. But in terms of the best time to come down, it's probably the opening and or closing. Like, what would you tell people where to come down when?
I would say the best part for me on a personal level is the opening ceremony, where you get to see the cancer survivors and warriors who are currently fighting. We do a survivor lap and a caregiver lap, and that's where everybody lines the track and applauds those people who are currently fighting or have fought or who, have lost their battle. And it is a moving experience to see. We have at 9 o'clock, we do a luminaria ceremony. That is my other favorite part of the event. I will say that it is very moving, and you should bring Kleenex if you don't have some in your back pocket. But it's where we turn off all the lights at the field. We do it at the Arlington High School, and we have a few people speak, and then we have, if you've been affected to cancer, by a parent, by a grandparent, by a cousin, by a niece, a nephew, along the line, and everybody has glow sticks to put into this big luminaria. And you'll be surprised how many have been touched by this unfortunate disease. So this is our little, step to make it go away, because we don't want to have to hear the words, "you have cancer" again. And if we meet our goals this year, Arlington's relay over the 17 years will have raised $1.25 million towards cancer research and the services that go along with that. So we're really proud of the work that we do and the community involvement that we have here.
Thank you, Kim, for doing this.
You're welcome.
I know you can't guarantee any dragonflies, but you never know when we get down there.
I
but
can't guarantee the dragonflies, but hopefully good weather, rainbows, and cool weather. I can deal with a little heat, but not a lot. And no rain.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion from the board. Seeing none, further discussion from the audience. Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Stay down there.
Thank you very much. June 10th at the high school. It starts at 6 and it ends at 6 in the morning on June 11th. So please come down, or please visit our website if you'd like more information.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Next agenda item, for approval, 2 sandwich boards from June 2nd to June 9th for Give Back Times, A Taste for Giving. Jared Blake, founder, CEO, Give Back Time, Inc. Hey,
Hi, good
How are
evening.
you?
good evening.
Sorry, first time, so I'm not sure if I'm doing this appropriately.
You're supposed to say long time first time. No.
Okay. Sorry for that.
No.
So, yeah, I founded an organization about 3 years ago called Give Back Time, based here in Arlington Center. We're unique in the sense that we are a federally approved 501c3, but we're a tech company. So we build software for other nonprofits to use, to utilize, help them manage and communicate with all their volunteers. We have about 250 to 300 nonprofits in the state that use us, a bunch of them local. Arlington Eats, I heard mentioned recently in the meeting earlier. They're one of the organizations, the food pantry, I could go on. There's thousands of people on the site volunteering with these nonprofits, about 700 of those people here in Arlington. And so part of our programming, what I do with the organization is to go out, do some outreach with the communities, work with high schools, help them get their kids at the schools engaged with community service. We work with some colleges and also some companies to help increase volunteerism just across the board with all different types of demographics. So we are doing a fundraiser on June 9th, and it's a wine tasting fundraiser with a silent auction. And we're looking to just put up a couple of A-frames in the locations that I put on the letter, I believe, the Pleasant Street, Mass Ave intersection, one at the Mystic Street intersection as well.
Great, thank you.
Move approval?
Motion to approve by Mr. Greeley. Second by Mr. Dunn. Further discussion from the board. Seeing none.
Luck, sounds like a great idea.
Great, thank
Further
you. Yeah.
Any discussion out there? Nope. Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great.
Brought a couple of flyers, and I just wanted to extend an invitation to everyone here as well, so if it's okay.
Yeah, please.
Yes, definitely.
That sounds great. And that is June 9th at the Sons of Italy.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
You as well.
Joe.
Thanks for being here. Moving on, we have for approval the 19th Annual Feast of the East. It's on June 17th. And we have the Capitol Square Business Association with us. Good evening.
Hi, we're not Jan-witted, sorry.
No. Please, could
So
you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Barbara Poplar, I'm the owner of Derby Farm Flowers and
Barbara,
Gardens.
hello.
I'm Yelena Babic. I own Maxima Gift Center.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for
having
having
us.
us. So we're here to ask for approval for the 19th Annual Feast of the East, which has been a fabulous celebration of food and community in East Arlington. And we think you all have a letter describing various aspects of the Feast of the East. It's going to start off, as it did last year, with the Fox Parade, which was an exciting new addition. And it was really, I don't know if anyone got to see it, but it was really great, wonderful costumes, and a lot of the community participated going up and down Mass Ave. And we have a lot of restaurants participating. We got about 2,000 people coming, we think. We have a lot of safety in place and have gotten approval with by the police for a plan for safety this year. So we're excited about that.
Great. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Yes, Ms. Mahan.
Move approval?
We have a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Ms. Mahan.
If I could just, because it's been brought to our attention, and one of the first thing I sort of cut my teeth on was Town Day, you know, way back in the mid to late 80s and moved on from there. And one of the really important events is getting it to close relatively close on time. So, and I know it's difficult, and we have it on Town Day, you know.
Yeah.
We say close at 3. I never tell them what the actual close time is, but we're usually 15 to 30 minutes before that, so the street sweepers can come by. So the police department did ask the board to emphasize to you all that, especially last year, I guess, you know, some people were confused about, and some people want to hang to the very end, because people are still there, it's really exciting, you want to continue to get your message out. So if you could sort of put in place, and I don't know if I'm articulating this appropriately, but in terms of, you know, Mass Ave being closed by 4, if you could make sure the activities that really need to be closed by 4, they start at like 3:15, 3:20. And as long as they're off the Ave, you know, if some people still hang around and want information about, but the board was asked to sort of emphasize that in light of what happened last year. It's kind of been building, the last year was a little bit more. People were really excited. So if you could really get it, you know, kind of strategize around that. And really, all you probably need is, you know, 2 people, you know, that start going up and down. I'm usually one of them for Town Day to say, that's it, you're done, you know, and, you know, get everything up. And as long as they're off the Ave, they can still talk to people after that. So I just wanted to just bring that to your attention, which I know you're aware of.
Yeah, but it's helpful to have it reiterated, absolutely.
Yeah, so, but it's a great event.
Great.
Grew up in East Arlington.
We hope everyone
so-
comes. It's a
Yes,
great time
yeah.
to taste everything in Arlington that you can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I say that right?
Good
Okay,
luck.
sorry.
Excellent.
Further discussion? Seeing none, best of luck. It's always a great event.
Thank you for doing it.
Cross your fingers about the weather.
Yes.
Yes, that's the worst, 85.
We have a motion by Ms. Mahan, a second by Mr. Dunn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have for approval, the Arlington Alive Summer Arts Block Party, Saturday, June 24th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Marga Varea. I'm the event manager for Arlington Alive, the Summer Arts Block Party. I'm also a member of the Arlington Commission for Arts and Culture, and I'm very pleased to be here tonight to request permission to hold our 5th year of this celebration. It's really come a long way from a pretty tiny festival to, I would say, one of the largest, if not the largest, arts festivals in town. I'm happy to say we have over 40 booths this year. More than half of them are artists, which is our major focus. And the other piece is we have brought to the festival a variety of performers and art forms. So we try to include dancing and theater, music and puppetry, and anything we can really afford, and also try to bring about the local talent as much as we can. So we're here to ask for permission to do this on Saturday, June 24th. I brought a couple of materials. These are from last year, but you see our posters are very colorful, and this is our performance schedule. Yeah, that's about it.
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Comments, Mr. Dunn?
Just checking, so looking at the note from the police department, have you got a chance to talk to the traffic division yet?
Not yet.
Okay, please do. In fact, you have to. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So they give a positive recommendation, but it's also really important that you talk to them and coordinate with them about the parking change in traffic.
Okay, I know we've talked with the fire chief.
Okay, yeah, you also please, Officer Corey Rateau and Marie can put you in contact with Corey.
Okay, we will.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much. And we have a motion and a second. No further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? It's going to be an eventful summer here in town.
Thank you.
The list is pretty good.
And
It
please
is.
come.
Yes.
Yes.
Moving on, endorsement of the Community Choice Aggregation Contract Execution Parameters. Mr. Chapdelaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry to spoil the run-up of parties and events here with a more pedestrian sort of matter, but.
I actually know a few people who would probably celebrate the signing of
Celebrate
this
that, yeah,
community
I like that,
aggregation.
I like that. So a quick bit of history to provide a little context, and then I'll describe the request I'm making of the board tonight. So as the board recalls, the board voted to move forward with community choice aggregation last spring. Town meeting then took the necessary vote to move forward. That prompted the board to be able to approve an aggregation plan, hold a public comment period here in town, receive comments, and then formally vote to approve that aggregation plan, send the aggregation plan to the state's Division of Energy Resources. They approved it, and then to the state's Department of Public Utilities, where it frankly sat for quite some time and was then approved in mid-April. That has set us up to actually be able to go out and receive competitive bids to aggregate all of Arlington residents' electricity. So we're at a point now where bids are actually going to come in tomorrow. This was a bit of hurry up and wait and then hurry up again once the aggregation plan was approved. So I went back to the notes of what I committed to do here and then what I committed to at town meeting. And what I committed to was not executing a contract until parameters had been discussed with this board for what the parameters would be of a contract. So we've been working with Good Energy, the energy broker that we selected as part of a competitive procurement with MAPC, who are our professional and advisors on going out, soliciting pricing from competitive electricity suppliers, and then helping us understand what the right deal is or what a good deal is. So what I'm asking for tonight are pretty simply two parameters. One, that we won't execute the contract unless the basic price of electricity is lower than Eversource's rate. So Eversource set their summer rate today. So we know what Eversource's summer rate is. So I'm saying we won't execute it unless the basic product under the aggregation is lower than that. The second thing I'm asking for is endorsement that we won't go any longer than 30 months for the aggregation. That frankly is a little longer than what I think I would have suspected we'd be looking for, but with the pricing, the indicative pricing that we've been hearing, 30 months is the most competitive. So it's attractive to at least be able to consider to go for 30 months. I think it's probably more likely that the appetite that I would recommend is that we go for 12 to 18 months, but I'd like the flexibility if the 30-month price is so attractive to be able to go for 30 months. To be very clear, the risk in that is Eversource sets their rates twice a year. They set summer rates and winter rates. So the longer you go, the more opportunities there are to beat the Eversource rate, but also the more opportunities there are to lose to the Eversource rate. So you want to get a good price. You want pricing stability, which this will give you, but you also want to make sure that at the end of it, the town and the residents feel like they did well by the program. Going back to the, I should have mentioned, under the pricing portion of this, in the aggregation plan, the default product is the amount of renewable energy credits that we buy today from Eversource plus 5%. There's then buy up products to buy 50% local green energy and then 100% local green energy, or an opt down to just basic.
Or a what? I'm sorry. Or-
Buy down to basic.
And you said or a.
Opt out.
Opt down,
sorry.
opt down,
I'm
opt down,
up,
sorry.
down. Okay, sorry. I'm a little deaf. I apologize.
So, to be clear, what I was asking for in the first is that the price we get, we compare Eversource's basic product to the basic product that we have. Once it starts, residents are able to either opt up or down or opt out entirely of this aggregation. They can opt out during the opt-out period, which is a 30-day period, and then they'll never get a bill that's related to this aggregation, or they can enter the aggregation, and then, let's say Eversource sets their winter rates and they're better than our rates, they can opt out at any time. So there's nothing that locks anybody into this, but they have to take the action of opting out. So I think that's just about what I wanted to say, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or have a discussion with the board.
One thing just to clarify, when the residents receive their bills, it will look the exact same as how they would receive from Eversource.
Correct.
Correct? So it's
Still one bill.
nothing wrong on nothing changes for the user, which I think is important to note under this program. Questions from the board? Mr. Dunn?
Comments too?
Yeah, of course.
So I think these parameters all sound good. I just, as you're considering the bids and the lengths of the contracts, I would definitely keep in mind that there's going to be scrutiny about our first contract, and so doing a long one definitely has higher risks for the program overall. And so if you do that, I mean, if the price is good enough, then do it. But just keep in mind that the track record will matter. And so in some ways, there may be benefits to, doing a shorter contract that's a clear win, that we can then, use that as lever, as a, look, this works, let's do it longer. But I absolutely, having said that, I respect that you're going to look at that and consider it and make the right choice, whatever that choice might be.
Thank you. That's very well-received advice. Thank you.
Mr. Greeley?
So, move approval. Help me understand the 30 months again. What happens after 30 months?
So then after 30 months or 12 months, whatever term we would agree to in a contract,
Right.
we would go out to bid again.
And renegotiate, okay.
Ms. Mahan?
Did I assume?
Or not, to be clear. We could do 12, 18, 30 months and then get to the end and say, wow, this did not work for Arlington, we're not interested any longer, or we could say this was great and go back out to bid.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I really don't have an appetite for the 30 months. I'm thinking of when we've done other commitments and had projections, Neswick, for the town, and we've locked ourselves in and have had to bear the course for it. So I'd like to first have some conversation more about if we could get, I'd like to do less. To me, less is more in terms of seeing how this bears out. And then the other two concerns I had in terms of the aggregation plan moving through the state, it kind of started, stopped, it was rapid again, stopped, and now it's rapid again. And to me, with all that flux, as well as, I'm thinking, unless you're someone like my husband, if you're like me, you're not gonna pay attention, but someone like my husband who watches every utility bill, mortgage, whatever, the 30-day window that you need, is 30 days what we're limiting it to, or is there some other remedy beyond that, that if somebody really wasn't paying attention to it and realizes that since they didn't opt out in that 30 days and it's really not beneficial to them, are they locked into that? That would be another reason why I would not want to go 30 months. I'd want to do the lesser, because what we're telling people, and that would be my third question, is, what we're telling people is, hopefully you hear about this, so how are we getting this out to the residents and businesses? Does it apply to businesses of Arlington or just residents?
People who are on
Eversource?
Eversource basic service. So there are some businesses on basic service, bigger businesses are not. They're on a different type of service. So basic service businesses, yes.
So I'd be interested in how we're getting the message out to, the average Jane and Joe on the street, that this is something that is an opportunity, you have 30 days, you can opt out.
So,
You know what I'm saying? Because all of us know this, but we're not packed in the audience right now or anything like that, so.
Yeah, so I'll start with the last piece first, and I should have mentioned this, so thank you for the prompt. So during the 30-day opt-out period, we'll launch a major marketing campaign. We'll use all of the town's channels, we'll use our email list, we'll use the website, we'll use the phone call alert system to let people know this is happening. We'll do ACMi. We're going to do 2 meetings at the Council on Aging, and we're going to do a public meeting here in Town Hall. So we're going to go as hard at this as we go at anything to inform people. In terms of the opt-out, the opt-out period is 30 days, and all that 30 days really means is you have to take action during that 30 days if you never want to be in the program. But even after that opt-out period ends, you can get out at any time. It just means if you didn't opt out during that 30-day period, you're, for 1 month, if you act that next month, you're going to get a bill as part of the aggregation. But then, but free of charge, you can get out at any time. So there's nothing that binds an individual resident. And to the duration, again, I hear what you're saying. I think the reason I'm asking for the flexibility is, this is likely to not happen, but if the bids come in that are, and this is the funny part of this, you talk about tenths of a penny when you're looking at kilowatt hour rates, so, but let's say the 30-month comes in, 0.5 of a penny better in pricing, that might be compelling to say, wow, this is gonna carry us through and get a good deal for Arlington residents for 30 months. But it's gonna have to be really compelling to do that, that's what I would say to that.
Can I have a follow-up to that?
You certainly may.
On the first part, I'm just thinking in terms of when this program kicks in, and if people aren't able to avail themselves of the many meetings that you're going to have, the reverse, I shouldn't say 911, but the reverse calls to the residents of Arlington, as well as the town website. Do you know, and if you already know right now, can you say where this call should go? But I'm just thinking of when calls come in where people are confused and they don't understand, this got switched, I didn't sign up for it, how do I get out of it? Do you have a department, a person, or something designated, or will you in the future, in terms of if you call 316-3000, if you do the answer request online feature, do we have where those online requests will go? And if we don't, is that something that you will put in place?
Basic answer, question and answer will come to my office. Detailed questions will go to Good Energy, who is the broker.
Okay, so it'll funnel through you, and anything that is like more detailed, you'll give the information to where we go from there. So, so what you're asking, last question, what you're asking tonight is a flexibility for up to 30 months, but sort of maybe with the caveat that it may be no less than 12 months, no more than 30 months? Is that what you're asking us to authorize you, right? Like, I want to keep the 12-month option in play, or is up to 30 keeps that in play?
Absolutely, yep.
So
that just puts a maximum on it with no floor.
Okay, so it could be 12, 18, 24. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dunn.
So I think I can reassure Mrs. Mahan a little bit about the opt-out, and the town manager can correct me if I'm wrong. But say you're on vacation for these 30, you're down in Florida or whatever, and you come back. The absolute worst case is you're paying the same, because the manager isn't going to execute the contract unless the rates are the same or lower.
It says higher.
It could be higher, if I'm correct, if I understand town manager correctly, it can be higher after the summer rate period. So for instance, we could lock in, and I'm going to make up we could lock in at 10, all right? And they set the Eversource set their rates today. Their rates are 11. I'm making these numbers up, but bear with me for a minute. We lock in at 10. Mm-hmm. In the winter, Eversource could go down to 9. And at that point, that's when you're, that would be the time when we're in a bad place. But all the way for those first 6 months of the contract, we are guaranteed, according to the guarantee that the town manager is giving us about what contract he's going to do, you cannot be paying more for those first 6 months. So they have 1 month to opt out, but they have a guarantee of 6 months where they will not be paying more. Did I say that fairly, Mr. Manager?
The only language that I'm concerned about is when you're talking about the rates. It says, we're hoping the default rate is lower than Eversource rate, but it may be equal or slightly higher. So I'd be much more comfortable if you're telling me it's going to be lower or equal and take out that slightly higher.
Yeah, so there's a nuance to what you said, Mr. Dunn.
Thank you.
So there's 4 products. There's the default, which is the green +5. There's the 50% renewable, the 100% renewable, and then the basic. What will definitely be lower, I will not execute the contract unless it's lower, is the basic. The +5, which is the one that everyone is automatically defaulted in, could be lower, could be slightly higher.
Thank you.
It's a 0.0015 difference. To get that +5 it will only be that much higher than whatever we agree to for the basic. So I guess what you said is very accurate. Other than that, it could be literally less than 1/100th of a penny difference for that 1 month before you change it. That would be the difference.
If you want to bank yourself into that, that's fine. But I'm just saying, having seen, different new initiatives, and when we go down the road, and very old initiatives, when we think about our trash contract from years ago, and we said things to the citizens, and then everybody was tied into everything. But it sounds like you're gonna have an opt-out. I was just concerned with the language, that it would say lower, the same, or slightly higher. And I know you're only saying it's, 1/10 of, 1 penny or something like that, but having, some familiarity with the utilities world, as well as, we can't anticipate what Eversource may or may not do in terms of making sure the market that they hope to bear continues with them. They could make a business decision that it's not 1/9 of 1 penny, it's something else. So my only thing I would say to you is that there's also some sort of opt-out feature for yourself, and is it Good Energy or Good Energy?
Good energy.
That if something comes into play where Eversource sort of reacts to this particular market, that it kind of gives us the feature to say, they've really responded to this, and it's no longer 1/9 of 1 penny. It's something that's really serious. And I know some people may say, oh, well, it's only $5 a month, but when we're talking about everything that we're doing in terms of going forward and overrides and things like that, some people may say, hey, what's $5 a month? But if you have someone on a fixed income, single mom, if a senior, $5 is, what is it, 50 dimes, you know what I mean? And that sort of a thing. So as long as you can maybe try to work into, if for some reason there's an anticipated reaction by the market on behalf of Eversource, that they respond to really try to get competitive and really go below, that we can accommodate to that. I definitely, and I understand, I definitely want you to do this. I'm definitely in favor of Mr. Dunn's motion. I want to move forward. I'm uncomfortable with the 30 months, but I'm comfortable that you're saying up to, not committing to 30. I am uncomfortable with or slightly higher, but I understand the remedy. I'm very comfortable with the outreach that you're going to get out to people in terms of meeting and the town website and calls to residents, as well as if we do go into this, if people have questions, they call the town phone line. They'll start with the town managers and move on. So I definitely want to do this. I just wanted to add, since this is my opportunity to do that, if there could be a sort of a final option that gives us if Eversource really reacts to this and gets really competitive, and then some, if there's an additional opt-out feature. If I'm probably not saying that right, but that's my last.
So there's no reaction legally allowed by Eversource. They set their rate twice a year.
Oh, okay.
In the summer and the winter. So and there's much, I would imagine, much larger market forces at play than the handful of communities that have chosen to pursue community choice aggregation in terms of the pricing of their electricity. That said, I think what you're actually speaking to are similar to the benefits that Mr. Dunn spoke to of looking at a shorter term. Because if we execute tomorrow at a rate that's lower than Eversource, and then they set their winter rate and it's higher, and we're only in a 12-month contract, we might, after 12 months, end up at a break even or still a win, depending on where that pricing comes out. 18 months, if the price we choose tomorrow, if, let's say we win tomorrow, lose the winter rate, and then win the next summer rate, which we probably would, then you have a contract that you win overall. But you go into 30 months, then you start going, there's more battles that you could lose and end up with a contract. So I hear what you're saying completely. The only thing I want to reemphasize, you can opt out at any time. This is not like Neswick, where it was literally binding, that you could not get out. Any individual who doesn't feel like they're being serviced appropriately or treated fairly in this can get out at any time, free of charge.
My last question, will this come before the board again, so I get another, like, when you finally rectify this to say it's 12, 18, 24, 30-month, or is this it, after we vote this tonight, we don't hear it again?
The way for any time you buy energy like this, it's a 1 hour window where you get pricing and you have to say yes or no. So in no scenario could I ever bring back the actual pricing to be executed by the board.
No, but I'm saying, this is not gonna come before us again. This is it
No,
tonight?
I'll certainly bring back before you what the outcome is.
That's fine.
And then I
Thank you.
think before we ever go back out to bid again, we would definitely have another discussion
fine.
about how we felt it went.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think that most of the comments tonight have really been about the price, and I certainly understand that. But I think what we've heard throughout this process is that our residents want the ability to get more clean energy. They're committed to it. I think, from Mothers Out Front to a lot of the other groups that we have in front of us, this is a really great step in the right direction. I wouldn't be surprised if, a a lot of households were willing to go beyond this basic plan that they're automatically going to be put into. So I think it's a really good step forward, and I hope that, all the households really take advantage of this. I think not only will it potentially help their billing, it will go a long way to help our environment and, the world we live in. And I think that's a really good thing, and I think it's an important step that we're taking here on a local level that will have an impact, beyond just Arlington's borders. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to endorse? Yes, Mr. Dunn and Mr. Greeley seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I believe I made the motion.
Yeah, I think so, too.
I always bow to Mr. Dunn.
That's my recollection as well.
Well, in any event, there was a motion and a second, and we'll leave it there. Moving on, correspondence received.
Move received and
Second.
we refer it to the manager, to Corey, to report back.
Not good pictures in that one.
No.
No?
No. There's a
Sorry.
car that had multiple boo-boos, as my nephew would say.
So we have a motion and a second, but all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on, new business. Marie. Perhaps next time. Mr. Dunn. Mr. Heim.
It's been a while, I think, since I've given new business, given
was thinking that
given
as well.
town
It's been a
meetings,
while.
slashing of the new business column. So I have a few brief pieces. One, as I've provided to the board, we applied preliminarily for a grant from the Barr Foundation to explore bus rapid transit or other improvements to bus service along Mass Avenue. They have preliminarily accepted our application and want us to submit a more technical proposal by May 31st. One thing I just learned today that they may be looking for is a letter of support from the Board of Selectmen, just showing that there is support from the board. So we don't meet again, the board doesn't meet again until June 5th, so getting that letter may be challenging. So I wanted to just raise the topic. Perhaps we could have a special meeting to approve a draft or something of that nature, but I wanted to make sure in an official meeting I raised the topic. To be very clear, anything that I'd be asking the board to support would not be any permanent changes or permanent infrastructure changes, but rather commitment to test a possibility. Could be as simple as using cones or using other temporary methods to see whether or not a concept could work. They've done something very similar successfully in Everett, Massachusetts, actually. So I don't know if we want to have if at all, a discussion about that, but.
I would just add that I think maybe 6 months ago, I was out and I said, it would be really nice if this bus was going by where absolutely no one was parking at rush hour. And so I'm really glad that we're looking into this. So, thank you.
Good, thank you. So I'll work with the chairman on a solution to the letter, but again, I wanted to make it known to the board.
Well, do you want a motion for us to have you work and have the letter come from the chairman?
If I may, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, may I?
Well, it depends what you're going to say.
I'm sorry, but I think that this
I'm kidding.
matter is, it's a substantive matter, it wasn't posted on the agenda, and I think that in this board's best interests, it's being discussed at new business because it's a matter that's gonna come up, but the substantive discussion and authorization, including a vote, you never know. If somebody comes out and says they wanted to object to monkeying around with the bus.
I withdraw my motion.
So withdrawn.
All right, thank you. Two other good news ones. We found out today, thanks to the good efforts of Kathy Garnett from the Conservation Commission and Jim Feeney, the Assistant Town Manager, the town is going to receive a $40,000 LWCF, which I think is Local Water Conservation Fund grant, to help out with the Spy Pond project that was recently funded by CPA. So Brian Rarick had brought the grant to our attention. Mr. Feeney started working on it with the expertise of Kathy Garnett, and we found that out today, so that was very good. Very, very quick work and good news on that front. Learned last week when I was attending the Local Government Advisory Council that the state is rolling out a municipal vulnerability program or preparedness program for climate change resiliency. And the director of climate change adaptation for the governor, I actually found out was an Arlington resident.
Yes,
so
she
that
is.
was a nice
Just
little
moved in here,
connection. Yeah.
maybe last year or so.
So we're going to be applying for that. It's due a week from today, so the planning department's taking the lead on applying for that, so trying to, in that way, get more resources to help us do some of the things we need to do as well. And then finally, I think this is on a somewhat of a sobering note, an important thing to mention. There was a lot of talk the last night of town meeting about projections on the override stabilization fund and the town conservatively budgeting for far too long. But there was also mention, I believe, from the chair of the finance committee that we've gone a long time without any type of recession or downturn in the economy, and that that is bound to eventually happen, and we've budgeted in protection against that. Some of you have probably seen in the press, so the state budget is now $462 million behind revenue estimates for the year, coming into the end of, coming into the middle of May. So May and June could certainly have an upturn or continue that trend. I think that's going to have a big impact on what the FY18 budget for the state looks like. May not necessarily impact local aid, but I think it's news that is, again, sobering to remember that times can change very quickly, and I think the town has budgeted conservatively to protect ourselves against from those downturns. So not much more to say on that, but I think it was important to publicly mention it. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Can I ask,
Yes.
just to follow up on that? Just because this came up recently, as well as during the campaign and others, I've heard anything in terms of Arlington, and I've also spoken to sort of the titular leaders, which I am not one, of the lost debt exclusion in terms of they're hearing 2019, they're hearing 2020 and 2021. Right now, recognizing, as you say, things could change in a month or two, are we still at the 2020? Is it the 2019? Is it the 2021? Or is this something that we should wait another 4 to 8 weeks and maybe have it as either new business item or an agenda item where we discuss that? Because what I'm hearing from, when I co-chaired the lost debt exclusion, from those people, where is it that the town wants to start to have the discussion? And so where are we right now, or would you prefer to wait?
Well, I'll briefly comment on it. There's two active discussions there, and one is a need and one is a want. The need is still forecasted for fiscal '21. That could change based on changes in state aid or other economic indicators. But that's a need. When, based on current projections, do we need more money before being in deficit? But there's also a want discussion. Do we want to ask for an override before the override stabilization fund is completely drained? And some of those discussions, at least around the long-range planning committee table, have focused around timing the next operating override to coincide with the same time we ask for a high school debt exclusion, so that there doesn't need to be back-to-back campaigns over the course of a few years, but rather one campaign. That's far less my decision to make, or not my decision to make at all, but for frankly, the Board of Selectmen to consider those policy implications. So I think you're accurate. You're hearing those two things discussed actively amongst people in the community. But one is the when do we need it, and then the other one is when would we possibly want it. So that's the difference between those two. That's the divergence of that discussion.
And I guess I would ask, is it Mr. Byrd or Mr. Dunn that are, I guess I would look to your guidance in terms of when is the appropriate time to have that discussion in terms of, and whether it's just among the Board of Selectmen or if it's something in a bigger vein, because I think there's probably different views, positive and negatives on each of the points. So I'm not asking you to speak to it tonight unless you want to, but I'm just looking for guidance, because people are coming to me saying, are we supposed to be starting to do something now?
Yeah. So it's Mr. Caro is also on the long-range planning committee, and so I definitely have, and so definitely when we have a long-range planning committee, I'm pretty good about coming back and making sure that during new business I give a report about what it was, and so we haven't met since before town meeting, and I don't think we don't have anything scheduled for a while yet either, because frankly there's no big news, and until there's big news we don't need to meet. But anyway. It is up to this board to decide, of course, obviously, when we want to do an override. And one of the things that the long-range planning committee thinks about, and very strongly, is that if we believe that running a debt exclusion or an override depends a lot on volunteers. Like it is like the volunteers to come out and do work for that team make a big difference. And the way the calendars are aligning for the high school and for the override is that they're gonna come within, like, you know, probably, maybe they'll be the exact same year, maybe they'll be 2 years apart, but most likely they're closer than 2 years, like 12 months. So we could spin up all the volunteers for one vote, spin them down, spin up all the volunteers for second vote and spin them down. And that seems like the second one would really suffer. You know, people would, like, we'd have a hard time mobilizing those volunteers. And so for that reason, it feels like it makes sense to put those two things together and do the override at the same time. So do the override and the debt exclusion at the same time. That means for me that the timing is being set more by the high school's progress than by our actual bank account. Like when we have enough money such that we're not going to run out of money, most likely, before the high school vote comes comes ready. So when the high school vote is ready, that'll be the starting gun that makes us do both at the same time. That's my personal opinion. I know that it is shared by a number of the members of the Long Range Planning Committee. There has not been like a formal vote or anything like that, but that's certainly been the, you know, the outcome of our discussion has been several people of that opinion. So I think that answers what you're looking for.
It definitely does, and it sounds like we're gonna discuss this in the future, because my personal opinion, and having chaired, and I will say chaired, the last debt exclusion, as well as talking to people that got the vote and did the work. I know a lot of people, not you, you were there with us working, and the rest of the members of the Board of Selectmen, but other people, take credit, had nothing to do with it. There's also a differing view. I don't want to say opposing. So what I'm hearing right now, and right now I'm in the other differing view, having worked, and these people have been calling me and contacting the rest of the board, but it sounds like that Mr. Byrne and Mr. Curo, with the town manager, this will be a future agenda item after long-range planning, which isn't scheduled to meet for, you know, some months in the future, and that's when we have the public discussion.
I honestly think, so we could have this discussion like at our next meeting, and we could talk about, and I don't think at our next meeting, our board, we as a board, I can't
We won't be
imagine we'd be ready to
No,
actually take a vote. But we can certainly discuss the options and use that as information, and the Long Range Planning Committee, I'm sure, would find that very helpful to understand, because obviously the only body that can do this is the Board of Selectmen. And so the Long Range Planning Committee, to some degree, is guessing what the Board of Selectmen is going to agree to do. And so if we want to give them parameters about this, I think it's very appropriate for us to have a discussion this summer at a meeting.
Well, perhaps then we should stop this discussion right now and have it on a future agenda item, because I think we're kind of getting in the weeds here. Mr. Greeley.
Yes, so I'm going to recommend that we hold a Budget and Revenue Task Force to discuss this, probably in the fall. I think that's exactly what that board is put together for. Bring the schools, bring the long-range planning, bring all of us as a discussion, probably, I would say, after the next long-range planning meeting or whatever. But I believe that's the purpose of the Budget and Revenue Task Force. But my new business, since you asked.
Thank you.
I want to congratulate our comptroller for his Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Have we gotten that before? Does anybody know?
No, first time.
First time.
So, good job, Richard. And next meeting, sir, I believe we should go to in casual dress for the summer season.
You know, I think that sounds like a wonderful idea to me, Mr. Greeley.
Thank you.
Ms. Mon.
I'm out. Done.
Good. Ms. Mon.
Well, not to inspire any ire from my colleagues, I'll say no, but no new business.
I also have nothing.
Why, what do you mean?
Nothing. Oh, whatever, as the kids say.
Oh, lovely. I do just want to, it's been quite a while since we've had new business, and since we have last had it, Julie Wayman, our Community Development Block Grant Administrator, through a wonderful event at the Arlington Boys and Girls Club to celebrate Community Development Week. We had quite a few of our CDBG recipients there. The town manager and myself offered remarks, and it was just a really nice event to celebrate some great programs. So we're very grateful for her work and all that she's done for the program. And with that, I will take a motion to
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Great. All those in favor? So moved. Thank you. We'll see you in a couple weeks.